Welcome back to Peacock TV Spoilers. Today is a beautiful Thursday, a perfect day to dive into the absolute madness currently unfolding in Salem. We are still reeling from this week's jaw-dropping cliffhangers, and let me tell you, the drama is only getting hotter. Grab your coffee and buckle up, because we need to talk about these explosive July 9th spoilers. Let's be real for a second. Peacock TV Spoilers, we've been tracking this for weeks, and EJ DiMera is having the absolute worst week of EJ DiMera's entire life. Can you believe it? First, EJ DiMera has to deal with Lexi Carver screaming at EJ DiMera for bringing Lexi Carver back from the dead only for Lexi Carver's resurrection serum to fail. Then, EJ DiMera has to face the horrifying reality that Kristen DiMera actually tried to murder Johnny DiMera. Kristen DiMera was furious that EJ DiMera was not happy about Kristen DiMera trying to kill Johnny DiMera. That is crazy. But the absolute biggest nightmare for EJ DiMera is the massive Coriseal scandal. DiMera Pharmaceuticals dumped tainted drugs on Smith Island, and those exact same tainted drugs severely poisoned Holly Jonas with arsenic. EJ DiMera has been sweating bullets, terrified of going to federal prison. But here's the kicker. EJ DiMera finally scores a massive villainous win on Thursday, July 9th. EJ DiMera manages to completely erase all the evidence of the tainted drugs on Smith Island. EJ DiMera cleans up the entire mess. Now, absolutely no one can trace the arsenic poison pills back to EJ DiMera or DiMera Pharmaceuticals. I personally believe this is exactly the kind of ruthless move that proves EJ DiMera is the true heir to Stefano DiMera's dark legacy. This reminds me of what Stefano DiMera did back in the day, when Stefano DiMera would orchestrate massive disasters and then miraculously make all the paperwork and physical evidence vanish into thin air. Stefano DiMera was a master at covering Stefano DiMera's tracks, and now EJ DiMera is doing the exact same thing to protect EJ DiMera's freedom. However, EJ DiMera erasing the evidence has catastrophic consequences for Holly Jonas. Because no one can trace the bad pills back to EJ DiMera, Sarah Horton begins to severely doubt Holly Jonas's story. Sarah Horton fiercely confronts Holly Jonas, accusing Holly Jonas of a shocking betrayal. Holly Jonas desperately swears that Holly Jonas did not intentionally take the Coriseal, but Sarah Horton is no longer confident that Holly Jonas is telling the truth. Amazing. The absolute irony of this situation is mind-blowing. We all know the history here. Holly Jonas never got punished for lying about Tate Black giving Holly Jonas drugs on New Year's Eve when Holly Jonas overdosed. Holly Jonas let Tate Black take the fall for Holly Jonas's bad choices. So, if you ask me, this is karma finally coming to get Holly Jonas. I want a clear love-hate relationship with characters, and right now I absolutely despise how Holly Jonas manipulates situations, but I also fiercely defend Sarah Horton's logic. Sarah Horton is acting like a rational doctor. Sarah Horton looks at the missing evidence, looks at Holly Jonas's track record of lying about drug use, and Sarah Horton draws the most logical conclusion. Holly Jonas is the boy who cried wolf. And now that Holly Jonas is actually telling the truth about being an innocent victim of EJ DiMera's tainted Coriseal, nobody believes Holly Jonas. Let's dive deeper into Sarah Horton's psychology right now. Sarah Horton is carrying an immense amount of trauma and guilt because Sarah Horton's patient, Destiny, literally dropped dead from these suspected tainted drugs. Sarah Horton has been aggressively investigating this Coriseal mystery alongside Brady Black and Xander Kyriakis. Sarah Horton's entire medical license and reputation are on the line. So when Sarah Horton interrogates Holly Jonas and finds zero evidence to back up Holly Jonas's claims, Sarah Horton explodes. Sarah Horton projects all of Sarah Horton's grief, frustration, and anger onto Holly Jonas. It is a heartbreaking scene, but it makes perfect psychological sense for Sarah Horton's character arc. Sarah Horton refuses to be played for a fool again. Meanwhile, across town, Rafe Hernandez is reaching a breaking point. Rafe Hernandez is so tired of losing to EJ DiMera. Rafe Hernandez issues a massive, stern warning to Kat Green. Rafe Hernandez questions whether Kat Green is getting way too close to EJ DiMera. Kat Green keeps swearing to Rafe Hernandez that Kat Green can handle EJ DiMera, especially now that Marlena Evans has hypnotized Kat Green. Kat Green is remembering more and more about Kat Green's days in Italy with EJ DiMera. But Rafe Hernandez did not believe Kat Green before, and Rafe Hernandez certainly does not believe Kat Green now. Rafe Hernandez threatens to pull the plug on Kat Green's entire ISA operation. And you won't believe what happens next when we look at the predictive lore. Fans are going wild with theories about Kat Green and EJ DiMera. I personally believe that Kat Green is actually falling in love with EJ DiMera. Kat Green is supposed to be working undercover for the ISA and Rafe Hernandez. But Kat Green's memories of reading Wuthering Heights to a comatose EJ DiMera in Italy are creating a genuine, dangerous emotional bond. Based on the show's internal logic, whenever an undercover agent gets this close to a DiMera, the agent always flips. I predict that Kat Green will completely double-cross Rafe Hernandez to protect EJ DiMera. Kat Green will be the reason Rafe Hernandez's federal case against EJ DiMera completely collapses. Now, it is time for the hot take section. Let's talk about Paulina Price and Abe Carver. Paulina Price absolutely goes off on Abe Carver on July 9th. And my controversial opinion, Paulina Price is 100% in the right, and Abe Carver is acting like a selfish, oblivious fool. Paulina Price took the incredibly painful high road and left Abe Carver so Abe Carver could reunite with the back from the dead Lexi Carver. Paulina Price made the ultimate sacrifice for the man Paulina Price loves. Paulina Price wants to be hailed for Paulina Price's generosity, but when there is not enough appreciation, Paulina Price completely loses it. And Abe Carver just happens to be standing right there to take the heat. I passionately defend Paulina Price because Paulina Price has been battling breast cancer, dealing with Chanel Dupree DiMera's devastating health crisis, and trying to hold Paulina Price's family together. And what is Abe Carver doing? Abe Carver is living in a total fantasy world with Lexi Carver. Abe Carver is blissfully watching fireworks, completely ignoring the massive emotional bleeding of Paulina Price. Abe Carver does not even realize that Lexi Carver's resurrection serum from Dr. Wilhelm Rolf is failing, and that Lexi Carver is dying all over again. Abe Carver is so blinded by the past that Abe Carver is destroying the present. When Paulina Price screams at Abe Carver, it is not just about jealousy. It is about respect. Paulina Price stepped aside to give Abe Carver a miracle. But Abe Carver is treating Paulina Price like Paulina Price was just a temporary placeholder. That is crazy. I absolutely hate how the writers are making Abe Carver so insensitive right now. This reminds me of years ago when Abe Carver would get so self-righteous and completely ignore the emotional needs of the women in Abe Carver's life. Paulina Price deserves a standing ovation for Paulina Price's grace, and instead, Paulina Price is left crying to Marlena Evans for support. Paulina Price's explosion is totally justified, and I hope Paulina Price makes Abe Carver grovel for forgiveness. All of these storylines are colliding in the most spectacular way. EJ DiMera is manipulating the entire town of Salem, leaving innocent people like Holly Jonas and Sarah Horton to tear each other apart over the Coriseal lies. EJ DiMera is outsmarting Rafe Hernandez, while Kat Green plays a dangerous game of emotional roulette. And amidst all this corporate and criminal chaos, the deeply personal heartbreak of Paulina Price, Abe Carver, and Lexi Carver grounds the show in raw, devastating human emotion. The ripple effects of EJ DiMera erasing that evidence on Smith Island will be felt for months. Because if Sarah Horton does not believe Holly Jonas, then Holly Jonas is completely isolated, which might drive Holly Jonas to do something incredibly reckless. Think about it. Holly Jonas is already physically fragile from the arsenic poisoning. Holly Jonas is grieving the presumed death of Sophia Choi. And now, the one adult who was trying to uncover the medical truth, Sarah Horton, has turned against Holly Jonas. Tate Black is the only person Holly Jonas has left. But will Tate Black stand by Holly Jonas when Sarah Horton presents the facts that EJ DiMera so carefully manipulated? EJ DiMera's victory is built on the absolute destruction of Holly Jonas's credibility. It is a masterclass in villainy, but it is deeply tragic for the victims left in EJ DiMera's wake. Peacock TV spoilers, we are witnessing some of the best writing this soap has delivered in years. The stakes have never been higher. Will Sarah Horton realize that Sarah Horton is being played by EJ DiMera before Sarah Horton completely destroys Holly Jonas? Will Rafe Hernandez actually fire Kat Green, or is it already too late to stop Kat Green from falling for EJ DiMera? And will Abe Carver wake up and realize the immense pain Abe Carver is causing Paulina Price before Lexi Carver's tragic secret is revealed? I need to hear from you guys right now. Do you think Kat Green will betray Rafe Hernandez to save EJ DiMera, or will Kat Green finally bring the DiMera CEO to justice? Drop your wildest theories in the comments below.
And if you want to stay ahead of all the explosive Salem drama, you must hit that subscribe button and join the Peacock TV Spoilers family.
We will see you in the next video.